Dear CS professional student friends, I am happy to bring to you this CS professional tax cracker batch. So this is a unique initiative by me, wherein the book which I have authored, Taxman Cracker, I am trying to discuss that entire book with you in this 30 hours. So basically, this batch is of 15 days, daily 2 hours. As you know, it will range from 10th June to 10th of July. It is alternate days, isn't it? So long 30 hours discussion for this cracker of 458 pages. So you can expect in this batch some solving in detail of all important questions. So first of all, I presume that all of you are conversant with provisions and you have gathered here for practice. So I'll take you through all important questions as are required to clear your exam. So this is not the substitute for the main batch. You have, of course, done the main batch. You know all the provisions well. And now it is time to practice. So this will be like a guided practice. Of course, you must have done your own practice, but you need something extra. You need some push. That's why you have here. Yes. So let's do it. Let's try to handle. And I have always believed that if you can crack those important questions in the exam, that gives you a big advantage in the exam. For example, um, 40-45 marks, very obvious questions are asked in the exam. Now, if you can crack from this 40 to 45 marks, if you can crack, say, 35 marks, then out of balance, 50 marks, you can score 20-25 and your exemption is almost there. So that's what we will be aiming at, exemption. We have always aimed for more than exemption, correct? So that's what we will aim at, and we will take your preparation towards exemption ahead in this batch. So I have decided to start with income tax in this batch. Our sequence will be income tax, international tax, GST, customs. Okay. Each of the 36 topics we will do in this batch. Each of the 36 topic we'll do in this batch. See, so I'm opening the cracker for you. I hope all of you have the cracker with you. See, so it is divided in 36 topics, as you all can see. It's visible to all of you. Yes. Check. Today, we are going to deal with, in this first session, we are going to deal with income tax. So we will start with corporate tax planning and tax management, which is on page 28.1. So I'll directly take you to that page. Check. So go to that page. What is to be done in this corporate tax planning and tax management topic? I have given you here concept and illustration of planning, management, avoidance, evasion, isn't it? So, each topic, look at it as opportunity where you can score marks. Okay. So in exam, they're asking you two categories of questions from this topic. One is question where they ask you that whether this situation is of tax planning, management, avoidance, or evasion. And second type of question is a numerical. Getting this? These are the two types of questions asked in the exam. So I have given you that in highlights of topic, that these concepts could be asked to you, and areas where corporate tax planning is possible, isn't it? So shall we go to questions? See, the first question. So the question which doesn't involve numbers, we will just discuss them, and those which have numbers, we will literally solve them. That's why the batch is of 30 hours. Okay. So I hope you're sitting with notebook, pen, pencil, calculator, and Taxman Cracker copy. Yes, no? Keep on giving your responses in the chat window. That will, help me. See, first question. State with brief reason whether the following relate to planning, avoidance, or evasion. First one, setting up of a license office in India by foreign company instead of full-fledged establishment to run its business activities in India. So what is it? Is it planning, management, avoidance, or evasion? It is planning. Okay. So basically knowing the law and doing something within the four corners of the law is tax planning. Yes. Investment in bonds approved for purpose of section 54 EC. So section 54 EC is under capital gains. So it's a very common way of saving tax. Okay. If you have got some capital gain on transfer of land or building or both, which is a long-term capital asset, and if you want to save tax, what will you do? You will take that amount and deposit in CGDA, deposit in government, this NHI REC bonds. And within 6 months, that gives you opportunity of claiming exemption. Is the point clear? So you are claiming exemption purposefully by investing in NHI or REC bonds. So what it is tax planning, isn't it? Yes, let's go ahead. Third one, businessman claiming depreciation on a refrigerator purchased for residential use. What it is? You are trying to evade tax, isn't it? So it will be a case of tax evasion. Asset was purchased for the purpose of residential use. On that asset, you are claiming depreciation. So what will happen? Your taxable PGBP will go down. Your taxable income will go down. Yes or no? And accordingly, your tax liability will go down. So you are trying to inflate your expenses. Yes, it is tax. No, it is not avoidance. It is tax evasion. See, avoidance means which is still you are trying to take benefit of loopholes in the law. That is avoidance. So this is not avoidance. Here you are directly trying to manipulate. Here you are directly trying to manipulate. So it is tax evasion. If you try to inflate your expenses, or if you try to, yes, suppress your income illegally, it is tax evasion. And that is what is happening in this third case. Did you understand? Okay, let's go ahead. Wait. Visiting foreign country for certain number of days to reduce number of days stay in India. This is tax avoidance. Getting it? So you are trying to fit within four corners of the law, but intention behind doing that is saving. Intention behind that is saving tax. Purposefully, you are doing that action. Okay. The only motto behind that action is saving tax. Clear? And basically, it was not intended by income tax law. Okay. Then SSC has two residential houses. He wants to sell a vacant site purchased 6 years back to avail exemption under section 54F. He gifts a residential house to his major son. So what is this? This is a tax avoidance, because in that 54F section, it is said that assessee should not own more than one residential house as on date of transfer. Now he was owning multiple houses, but one house he transferred to his son for time being. Why is it transferred to his son? So that he can show, the assessee can show that he has only one house and he can unduly claim exemption of section 54F. Getting the point? So that is a tax avoidance. Yes, it is highly appreciable if you reply in the chat window. How much so obvious you feel, but please reply so that I understand whether things are reaching to you the way they are supposed to. So in the same way, you have to do all these questions of planning, management, avoidance, evasion. Okay. So will you be able to do that type of questions? Yes. Let's do second question. Okay. See if you can quickly recognize whether it is planning, management, avoidance, evasion. Starting business in industrially backward state, which will entitle assessee to claim deduction under section 80 IB. So what it is? Intentionally, you are setting up business in a backward area. It is planning. It is tax planning. Bhakti, management will mean what? Management will mean if you are trying to do better compliance, that is tax management. You will of course have example of tax management also here. See, if you are going to reduce your liability, okay, which is legal, it is planning. Getting the point? If you are going to do better compliance, it is management. If you are trying to fit within four corners of the law, but which is not the intention of the law, you are just doing the transaction so that your tax liability is minimized, you are forcing it to be within the law, then it is avoidance. Perfect. And if you're inflating your expenses, suppressing your income, then that is evasion. Correct. Very good. Now, again, transferring of asset to another person without adequate consideration. So that is tax avoidance. Installation of AC costing 75,000 at residence of director as per terms of appointment, but treating it as plant installed in quality control section in the factory. What is this? This is certainly tax evasion. Why it is tax evasion? Because a plant and machine, rather AC, which is installed at home, is shown as plant and machine installed in factory, so that you can claim depreciation. So unnecessary expenses will go up, isn't it? Unnecessarily expenses will go up, tax liability will go down. So it is tax evasion. Okay. Mr. D is working partner in a firm and is entitled to salary of 30,000 per month. He treats this as salary instead of business income. So this is again evasion. Why evasion? Because he wants to claim that standard deduction. Okay. Which is available under salaries of 50,000 per annum. Then X and Y maintaining adequate records and register of TDS by it to enable timely compliance of legal provisions. This is management. Correct? You are doing better compliance with provisions of tax law. Clear? Shall we go ahead? Did you understand? So on similar lines, you can do third question, fourth question, and fifth question. So at least every type of question I'll make you acquainted, make you solve it. Okay. Then distinguish between planning and avoidance. So here's difference between planning and avoidance. Very critical. These four concepts: planning, management, avoidance, evasion. Correct? Shall we go ahead? Okay. Now see, diversion of income, application of income. So just keep one thing in mind. What is tax deductible? What is diversion of income and what is application of income? To understand that, you should just keep in mind what is tax deductible. Okay. So please understand, application of income means you already have determined your income. From your income, you give away something. So can that be tax deductible? Now that cannot be tax deductible. Correct. So diversion of income is tax deductible. Okay. So in exam, they might ask you cases where you have to examine whether it is application of income or diversion of income. So let's try to read it. Diversion of income. Income never reaches the assessee as his own income. By virtue of an obligation, the income is diverted at source before it reaches the assessee. That is basically diversion of income. For example, uh, from the fees that you pay me, I have to pay the rent. So is rent paid diversion of income or application of income? Yes, friends. No, my dear friends. Rent paid is diversion of income because it is that amount which never reaches me as my income. So here the obligation is on source of income. So that's what I was telling you, no? That diversion of income is tax deductible. Tax deductible means I can put it on debit side of my P&L account and it will decrease my taxable income. Did you get the point? So basically, interest on debentures. The company pays interest on debentures, whether it is diversion of income or application of income. Company paying? No, again, it is diversion of income. Please understand, it is diversion of income. Okay, because there's an obligation on source of income. And mind you, dividend paid by company on its shares. So from income, the dividend is paid, isn't it? So it is application of income. I hope you got the point. So many times what you do is you keep example in mind and then read the theory part as you feel. Actually, in my opinion, there is no distinguish between practical and theory. If you have understood something, then in theory, you have to just express that. So see, income reaches to the assessee as his own income and it is subsequently applied to discharge an obligation. Here, the obligation is on receipt of income, that is after income reaches the assessee. There is no overriding title in this case. Okay. In case of diversion, the income is not included in the income of the assessee. So it is deducted only. It is not income of the assessee. In case of application, income is first included in the income of the assessee. Are you getting the difference between diversion and application? These days, they have started asking you between difference between diversion and application. Also, they have started asking you the cases for that. Clear? Yes. Since the SEC does not have title, income cannot be said to have accrued or arisen in case of diversion. But income is said to have accrued or arisen and therefore is taxable in the hands of SEC. That's why I said that diversion of income is tax deductible, but applied income is not tax deductible. Can you take deduction of dividend paid while calculating PGBP? No, exactly. It is application of income. Can you take deduction of interest on debentures? Yes, because it is diversion of income. So I hope you have got the point. So to so I'm going to take you through every critical aspect. That is what I want to do in this 30 hours. Okay, even if it helps you over and above you whatever you have done now, even if it helps you to get 10-15 marks extra, it will be such a value addition. See, ninth question. Now, looking at this question, you should be able to answer whether it is application of income or diversion of income. P Limited took over the running business of Ramu, a sole proprietor, by a sale deed. As per the sale deed, P Limited undertook to pay overriding charges of 15,000 per annum to Ramu's wife in addition to sale consideration. The sale deed also specifically mentioned that the amount was charged on the net profits of P Limited, who had accepted that obligation as condition of purchase of going concern. Examine, in light of decided case law, that whether the payment of overriding charges by P Limited is in the nature of diversion of income or application of income. What is it according to you? Yes, it is. It is diversion of income because now Peer Limited will run someone's business. Okay, from that, whatever profits are earned, or rather, since that business is purchased, each month I have an obligation to pay. How much obligation I have to pay each month? Each month I have an obligation to pay rupees 15,000. Exactly. So that will not form part of my income as Peer Limited. Got it? So that is expense for me. Yes or no? That's expense for me. Yes, it is a tax deductible. So it is diversion of income. So can you go through this solution? It is based on what we discussed in question number 8. Good. Then why is tax planning necessary? I would certainly like you to go through this. This batch is alternate day, isn't it? So what I want you to do is, as we cover topics here, correct? Immediately on the next day, do it at your end also. So just imagine if by 10th July, your entire cracker is covered logically, correct? If by 10th July, your entire cracker is covered logically, then 75 to 80% of your syllabus is done. Isn't it? Yes. So that's what. So what I'm telling you is what I'm not doing right now, correct? That you are supposed to do on that next day, that is on 11th, when nothing is scheduled. So again, 12th will take the session. 13th again I'll give you. That way each day I have planned till 10th of July. Clear? Then examine doctrine of form and substance in the context of tax planning. You can just once go through it. It is not so important as well. Okay. So I'm giving you filter. Within the cracker also I'm giving you filter. So it's absolutely okay. Even if you don't do it in that much depth. Now, 12th question, but surely we'll do 12th question. Let's do it. Hmm. Okay. Fine. Are you with me for the 12th question? Yes, let's do it. These are very common category of questions. Yes. See, check. Global Limited is a widely held company engaged in power generation in Assam. At present, the company is having a capital of 10 crores in fully paid equity shares. The company is considering a proposal to increase its power generation capacity, which will require 5 crores. The additional capital required can be raised either by way of fully paid equity shares or by 10% debentures. Director of the company wants to raise the funds through equity shares as the company can have fully owned capital. Will you accept the proposal at 20% rate of return and 30% rate of tax? Give the reasons to support your answer. So in such cases, what you are supposed to do, this is basically tax planning with respect to financing options, isn't it? So question 12, page 28.9. How to do it? In this scenario, you have to calculate, you need to calculate what in this scenario? You have to computation, okay, either EPS, but it might become difficult to compute EPS in the absence of face value of share. So what you compute is computation of return on equity share capital. Accepted? Computation of return on equity share capital. So particulars, there are two options. Option 1, equity shares. And what is option 2? Option 2 will be by way of debentures. Do all figures in rupees. Correct. Take all figures in rupees. That's how your presentation should be ideally. I have tried to give you ideal presentation here also. Please abide by that as far as possible. A point, what you do is earnings before interest and tax. That is basically EBIT. I hope all of you are solving with me. So my question to you is, what is the total capital that you are going to employ? What is the total capital that you are going to employ? You are going to employ 15 crores, existing 10 crore, and new 5 crores. Yes. So rupees 15 crores into, what is your rate of return on this capital employed? Third, accept the proposal at 20% rate of return. So into 20%. So always when such question is asked, you have to first think about what will be EBIT. So here EBIT will be 3 crores. It remains same in both the cases. Less, what do you minus? Interest. Correct? When I'm talking about equity shares, understand my existing full 10 crores is equity shares only. Yes. So basically, if I go for additional equity, then entire capital will be of equity only. So there is no interest in first case. So I'll take nil. No interest deductible means there is no element of interest. But in option 2, when I'm raising additional 5 crores by way of debentures, which will carry interest at 10%, there will be 50 lakh rupees of interest. Therefore, what will be my earnings before tax? That is EBT. My earnings before tax will be 3 crore and here 2 crore 50 lakhs. Accepted. Less tax. What is the percentage of tax given at? 30%. So just take it at 30%. Is it yes, is it 90 lakhs and 75 lakhs? So now what is your earnings after tax? Your earnings after tax is 2 crore 10 lakhs. Okay. Now this everything, this is earnings after tax available for equity shareholders. Yes or no? Do I know what is equity share capital? Is equity share capital here 15 crores? And here it will be 10 crores. Yes or no? Okay. So now what you do is you calculate return on equity share capital. Therefore, return on equity share capital. So return on equity share capital will be E upon F into 100. Check what is that. Is it 14%? And is it 17.5%? Yes. So which option is better for you? So of course, the lookout is that return for equity shareholders should be maximum. So that is going to be your decision. Option 2, meaning to say, what you have to write here is that the shareholders contention, that additional rupees 5 crores should be raised by way of equity. The shareholders contention that additional rupees 5 crores should be raised by way of equity only is not beneficial, as if additional amount is raised by way of debentures, then the return on equity share capital expected is greater than on equity, than by way of raising through equity. Is it clear? Shall we go to next question? Yes. Will you be able to just ask yourself that every type of question will you be able to handle in the exam on your own? Just you have to keep on asking that. Next. See the next question. Company wants to raise capital of 14 lakhs for a project where from earnings before tax would be 30% of the capital employed. The company can raise debt finance at 12% per annum. The following three alternatives for raising capital are available for the company. Okay. So 40 lakh rupees it wants to raise. Entire 40 lakhs can be raised by way of equity capital. 20 lakhs by equity capital and 20 lakhs by way of loan. 8 lakhs by equity capital and 32 lakhs by way of loan. Assume that company would distribute entire amount of profits as dividend. Okay. Tax rate is 31.2%. Now see, it doesn't matter that how much company declares as dividend. It doesn't matter. Because finally dividend goes to equity shareholders only. Work out which one of the above three alternatives should the company opt to minimize the tax liability. So keep the facts in mind of the question. So it is question number 13. Page number is 28.1. Yes, 28.10. Chalo, let's do it. Give the heading. Computation of return on equity share capital. Clear? Computation of return on equity share capital under the three different financing options. Particulars, and you make here 3 columns. Call it as financing options. Option 1, option 2, and option 3. Clear? All figures in rupees. But before going to that, what I would tell you is, here in option 1, what do you have? You have entire amount by equity, entire rupees 40 lakhs by equity. Here you have 20 lakhs by equity. Rupees 20 lakhs by equity and rupees 20 lakhs by debt. And option third, 8 lakhs by equity and 32 lakhs by debt. Am I correct? Yes. So what you do now is underline this and let's start. Did you all get it till this point? Can we show the working? Yes, very good, very good. Let's start. A point, earnings before interest and tax. So can you tell me what is EBIT? The total capital employed I can see is 40 lakhs. And what is return that is expected? 30%. Check here. Very good. So finding out that from this such type of questions is important. So do 40 lakhs into 30%. You'll be getting 12 lakhs. So I hope you all of you have got 12 lakhs. Yes, let's go ahead now. B point, less interest. What is the rate of interest? You know the debt. The company can raise the debt at 12%. So calculate interest at 12%. Here too it will not be there. Here it will be 12% of 20 lakhs. And here it will be 12% of 32 lakhs. So are you getting these figures? Check and tell me. So what you actually did was 20 lakhs into 12%. And here 32 lakhs into 12%. So can you please tell me that what is your earnings before tax. Correct? This is your earnings before tax. Less tax. Tax is at what percent? They have told you here that tax is at 31.2%. So are you getting these figures of tax? Check. So I want to do the things as simple as possible for you. Now, earnings after tax. Of course, available for equity shareholders. So are you getting these figures? If you're solving along with me, best. Nothing like that. Equity share capital. You know, here it is 40 lakhs. Here it is 20 lakhs. And here it is 8 lakhs. And finally, what you get is return on equity share capital. So return on equity share capital will be E upon F into 100. How much you have earned on your equity share capital. That literally means return on equity share capital. And of course, that is being found out in terms of percentage. So these figures you must be getting. So you can reach at a decision that raising of rupees 40 lakhs as rupees 8 lakhs by way of equity and balance rupees 32 lakhs by way of debt is the most beneficial option. Why? Is the most beneficial option as return on equity share capital is highest under the same. Did you understand? So if you're doing it, once you complete it, say D in the chat window. Yes. Yes. So anyone who wants me to wait, write W in the chat window. Otherwise, we'll be going to the next question. Okay, I'm waiting. No problem. Are you happy? Are you getting the things? Yes, very good. Who has joined by the name of Crackit? Have you completed it? We are just waiting for you. Chalo, I'll go ahead now. I think I'll go ahead now. Hmm? Yes. So this way 13th question we have done. So can you on the same lines do 14th and 15th? Please tell me. And all these are compulsory things which you have to do. Yes. Because I told you typical questions, we don't have to lose marks in them. So I have included 1, 2, 3, 4 questions in this, but in past exams, much more than 4 questions were asked. So I feel at least students should do these 4 questions. So in this batch, I'm doing 2 and 2 I'm leaving on you to do. Correct? Chalo, we'll go ahead. Now see, unique questions on tax planning I've put up here, not asked much. Okay. But still, let us go through them. These 2 unique questions I've put up. Question number 16 and 17. Okay. See, Miss A is employed with XYZ Limited. Are you all with me? Page 28.13. Yes. Did you like this ebook? So what initiative Taxman has taken is whichever books they felt are getting good response from students, they have converted it in ebook. So this Taxman, this cracker is one of that of CS professional. Let's see. A is employed with XYZ Limited. His salary is 1 lakh per month. He's also paid house rent allowance of 20,000 per month. Okay. His wife B is also employed at a salary of 40,000 per month with ABC Limited, where A holds 20% shares. Now, you know what happens? This you might have learned at executive level, that when uh, one spouse has 20% or more of holding, correct, in one company, and other spouse is employed there, like it is happening in this case. XYZ Limited company shares are held by Mr. A. To what extent? To the extent of 20%, isn't it? So now what happens if Mrs. A is employed with this company, then salary of Mrs. A will get clubbed in the hands of Mr. A. Are you getting the point? Why clubbing is happening? Because it is presumed that actually it was supposed to be paid to Mr. A, but by his influence, it is paid to Mrs. A. Do you know this? That clubbing of income takes place in the hands of spouse if that spouse is receiving remuneration from an entity where other spouse has substantial interest. Substantial interest means 20% or more of holding. Okay, so please remember this point. So in this case, of course, if the spouse who is getting remuneration has adequate qualification, for which she is getting that salary, then clubbing doesn't take place. Okay. I hope you are getting this because very few people are responding in the chat window for this. So I'm doubtful whether you remember this provision or not. So please remember it now. I will tell you one more example so that you will never forget this provision. Listen to this example carefully. There is one Mr. X, okay, who goes to audit. There is one Mr. X who goes to audit, okay, of a company where Miss Y has 25% shareholding. And now what happens? This Mr. X slowly, steadily qualifies as chartered accountant. And he marries that Y. Correct? Got the point? And afterwards, he continues as accountant in that company. Which company? Such company in which that Y has 25% holding. Now, will clubbing of income takes place? Now, that Mr. X continues getting salary from the company. So usually it should have been clubbed because one spouse is getting remuneration from entity in which other spouse has substantial interest. Correct? That is the basic version of clubbing. But here clubbing will not take place because Mr. X is a chartered accountant and is employed as a accountant in that company. So remember this example. With this example, you will understand the provision of this clubbing also and also the exception to that. Clear? Now, but see now this situation, B does not hold adequate qualification for the post which she is holding. B is the owner of house which is self-occupied by the family. The house was constructed in 1819 with borrowed funds. Suggest a scheme for tax planning to minimize tax liability for financial year 2021. Okay. So, in this case, what is happening? Because of the structure, the entire salary earned by B will get clubbed in hands of A. Yes or no? Yes. Got it, my dear friends? Yes. So it will get clubbed. And point is, uh, B, that B owns one house which is self-occupied where she must be paying interest. So that interest is allowed as deduction under section 24B. That means she will have a loss from house property, but she doesn't have income. Who has all the income? A has all the income, but she has got loss. So what is happening is A will end up paying heavy tax and B will end up having a loss, and that loss will have to be carried forward. So this is not correct planning which they are doing. If correct tax planning has to be done, what needs to be done is very simple. If A can reduce his holding in the company, then he will stop to have substantial interest. Yes or no? Yes, he will stop to have substantial interest because substantial interest means 20% or more of holding. So yes, if substantial interest is not there of A, means if he sells some shares in the company, then salary of B will not be clubbed in the hands of A. It will be taxed in her own hands. Is that correct? Did you understand? Yes. So see, A is advised to reduce his shareholdings from 20% to 19% to avoid clubbing. Got it? And further, one more suggestion is given. because A is getting HRA, what can happen is A can pay rent to B, that is his wife, and A can claim exemption of HRA. Clear? So that way you could have written that question. On similar lines, you have this question, 17th question. Okay, you can go through 17th. It is on similar lines. Is it okay to all of you? Can we go ahead? Yes, very good. Now, 18th question. See, this 18th question actually helps you in assessment of firms. One. Second, it helps you in this concept of, selection of type of entity. Mainly, I think it helps you in assessment of firms. Then secondly, it helps you in selection of type of entity. Okay, so both things, both ends can be reached through this next question. Let's see. A, B, and C are planning to start a retail business. Profits of business for the year are estimated to be 20 lakhs. Two alternatives are available to them regarding selection of form of organization. How they can start the business? They can start the business either as a firm or they can start the business as a company. Now, which is better? You cannot directly reach to any conclusion, but you have to do the calculation. Okay. Such calculation, such option will be selected where tax outflow is least. Accepted? Tax outflow should be least. Yes. So your knowledge of assessment of firms will help you here. Okay. So what's the question number? Question number is 18. And what's the page number? Page is 28.15. So what you have to do is you have to compute. So computation of total tax outflow, under this option, under both options. Correct. And you will go for that where tax outflow is least. Partnership firm. Do you remember that for partnership firm, how to calculate tax liability? What is the rate of tax for partnership firm? The rate of tax for partnership firm is 30%. You consider surcharge when total income of firm exceeds 1 crore. You consider surcharge at 12%. Isn't it? Correct. And of course, on subtotal, you calculate health and education cess. So if you are talking about partnership firm, then you are doing computation of total income and tax liability of the firm. Of course, and you consider assessment year 21-22. Of course, which is relevant for previous year 2021. So try to recollect. Try to recollect all the things. A point. Now, how much is the estimated profits of the firm? Means basically in the business. ₹20 lakhs. My question to you is very simple. That what they are saying is each partner has introduced capital of 20 lakhs. Interest on capital is at 20% and salary of 3 lakhs per annum to each partner is paid and profits are to be distributed equally. My simple question to you is, that 20 lakh rupees of profits here, these will be before these distributions to partners or after distribution? They are before distribution. Okay, because 20 lakhs is what this firm is going to earn by doing the business. So these three partners will do the business in the form of firm and they will earn 20 lakhs. So basically, this I can call as NP before interest on partners capital and of course before partners remuneration. Is this point which I've written in the bracket clear to all of you? That 20 lakh rupees is profit before any distribution to the partner, because on that depends a lot of things. Correct? Now what you will do, you are supposed to do add and less all adjustments of PGBP. So basically, this 20 lakhs is almost PGBP, except for one adjustment, or rather two adjustments. Which adjustments are not yet done in that 20 lakhs? Yes, interest on capital adjustment is not done and remuneration adjustment. These two adjustments are not done. Which one you do first? You first do as a part of PGBP adjustment. No, not both. You first do interest on partners capital. Interest on partners capital, 20 lakh rupees is each partner's capital. 12% is the rate of interest and there are such three partners. So it is going to be 2,40,000 each partner. So totally 7,20,000. Now I come to the point where I do add partners remuneration if debited. Is partners remuneration debited at all? It is not debited because 20 lakh is before that. So 0. Now point that you get is called as book profits. So I'm trying to recollect for you the format of calculating book profits of the firm. How to calculate book profits of the firm? By taking the given profit, adding and subtracting all adjustment of PGBP, adding partners remuneration. You get book profit for the firm. Is it 12,80,000? Why is book profit so important? What is the meaning of book profit? Book profit means actually PGBP, but before allowing partners remuneration. So now we should allow partners remuneration. Yes or no? So now allow it. E point less yes. You did not, one of you did not understand why 12%. It's given here. Check. Achha, interest on capital is at 20%. Then why we have taken 12% only? Because there's a ceiling limit of 12%. Okay, I'll just tell you. Interest on partner's capital is allowed only to extent of 12%. Got the point? Just ensure that you have done the main batch properly. Ensure that. Okay. Less partners remuneration. Now, how much is allowed? How much partners remuneration is allowed? Lower of 2. What two things? What two things? A, partners remuneration, of course, only towards working partners as per the deed. So if you check as per deed, how much they are allowing? They are allowing 3 lakh rupees. So 3 lakh rupees each for each partner into such 3 partners. So isn't it 9 lakhs? That 9 lakhs or B point ceiling limit under section 40B or ceiling limit under section 40B. How to calculate ceiling limit under 40B? On book profits up to rupees 3 lakhs at 90%. So isn't it 2,70,000? On balance book profits at 60%. So balance book profits I can see is 9,80,000. Because 12,80,000 minus 3 lakhs. So into 60%. So calculate, it works out to 5,88,000. Take total, it works out to 8,58,000. So how much should be allowed? 8,58,000 should be allowed. Yes or no? You should allow 8,58,000. So take that. So allowed remuneration shall be 8,58,000. Now please tell me that what is therefore profits gains business profession of the firm, and that itself becomes your gross total income, and that itself becomes your total income because there is no other head of income. So are you getting 4,22,000? Now calculate tax on above at 30%. So it is 1,26,600. You will add health and education cess at 4%. So it is 5,064. But you always know that income tax liability is rounded off to nearest of 10 under section 288B. So please round it off to nearest of 10 under section 288B. So what you will do is, therefore, tax liability rounded off to nearest of rupees 10 under section 288B. So is it 1,31,660? Check and tell me. Yes. Now what you should do is computation of total income and tax liability of the partners. Can that be done? Have you all understood till this point? Could you recollect point from assessment of firms? Because assessment of firms is going to be our discussion topic for next session. Assessment of firm, assessment of companies. Correct. Let's go ahead. Others are not responding. Please let me know, my dear friends. Are you comfortable with 131,660? Okay, let's go ahead. And don't miss a single class, okay? How much repetition you feel, don't miss a single class, because exactly required points I'll be stressing on. Okay, see, if everything gets routine for you, if these questions get routine for you, nothing better than that. Okay, all these 36 chapters getting inbuilt in you, there's nothing greater and better than that. Okay, that will mean that 60-70 marks question paper you can easily solve, and that's what we want. Okay, now computation of total income and tax liability of partners. What you will do is particulars and again two amount columns. Please let me know what is can you please tell me what is profits and gains from business or profession of each partner? Why it is taxed under PGBP? Because we are talking about salary from the firm and interest on capital of partner. It gets taxed under the head of PGBP, correct? And not under salary slash IOS. So what is salary received from the firm? See, mind you, salary received from the firm, it is taxable in the hands of partners to the extent allowed in the firm. So if firm has not paid tax on that, means for firm, how much is allowed as deduction? Can you see 8,58,000 is allowed as deduction to the firm as remuneration? Accepted. So firm did not pay tax on 858. So who will pay tax on that 858? So 858 divided by 3, because we are finding out for one partner. My dear friends, is it only I who am so excited and shouting? You're not even responding in the chat window. That's not done. At least respond in the chat window. No, no, no. Others. Revati and Rucha and all are responding properly. Others I am talking about. Yes, chalo, respond something. Okay, 858 divided by 3. Chalo, got it. Chalo, good. So it is 2,86,000. Now what you do is, there's one more thing that partner is getting from the firm, that is interest on capital in the firm. So actually totally allowed. So again, I'm saying taxable in hands of partner to the extent allowed in the firm. So that is, mind you, 7,20,000 is totally allowed. That is within 3 partners. So 2,40,000. And one more thing is received by the partners, that is share in profit of the firm. But you know, this share in profit in the firm is fully exempt under section 10(2)(a) of Income Tax Act. So exempt it. Now you will get total income of the firm. What is a total income of the firm? Total income of the partner. So what is total income of one partner? 5,26,000. Why it is directly total income? It is actually PGBP, but there is no other head of income. So that itself become GTI, and that itself become total income. Based on this total income, can we calculate his tax liability? Yes. So on income up to rupees 2,50,000, you know there is no tax. On income between rupees 2,50,000 to rupees 5 lakh, you know tax is at 5%. Check whether you're getting 12,500. On income above rupees 5 lakh, or rather you can say between rupees 5 lakh to rupees 10 lakh, tax at 20%. So how much I have between 5 lakh to 10 lakh is only 26,000. So I'm going to get 5,200. So total is going to be, you can take the total here, it's going to be 17,700. Yes. Then you will add health and education cess at 4%. So this is going to be liability of one partner. Each partner is earning, you know, similar income, same amount of income. So based on this, you can take out total liability of all partners. So first of all, please tell me rounded off liability. Is it 18,410? Therefore, total tax liability of all three partners. So that's going to be 18,410 multiplied by 3. Yes, so it's going to be 55,230. Now you will get total tax outflow under this option. So what is total tax outflow under this option? It is going to be 1,31,660 plus 55,230. So what is your answer? 1,86,890. Did you get check? 186,890 is your answer. If anyone is still doing or has any doubt, let me know. If you are done, and if it is okay if I go to tax liability of company and the three shareholders, then you say D in the chat window. Take your time, complete it. Give me 1-2 minutes. Okay, I can go ahead. Yes. If anyone wants me to wait, write W in the chat window. Otherwise, I'm going ahead. Okay. Now see, give the heading computation of tax liability of the company. Of course, total income and tax liability of company. Okay, so the catch is no restriction on remuneration or interest on capital. No restrictions. So particulars, amount rupees. Start with A point. What is profits of the company before shareholders remuneration and interest on their loan. So it's same 20 lakh rupees. Check. It's given here that 20 lakhs is the profit. Whichever type of organization you are floating, 20 lakhs will be profit. And from that profit, if a company is formed, then company will pay salary of 3 lakhs per annum to each of the A, B, and C. And share capital of A, B, and C each will be 4 lakh, and loan will be 16 lakhs by each at 12%. So comfortably less deduction with respect to company as an entity can claim deduction of these things: salaries to directors slash shareholders. So how much salary they are paying? 3 lakhs. Directly you can do 3 lakhs into 3. No restriction like there is in case of firm. Are you getting the point? So 9 lakh rupees you can minus. Not only that, interest on directors slash whatever shareholders loan. So that is 16 lakh rupees is loan given by each one of them at 12% per annum. So check how much is 16 lakh into 12% into 3. Is it 5 lakh 76,000? So total deduction will be 14 lakh 76,000. Yes or no? Yes. So what will be total income? Total income will be 5 lakh 24,000. This is nothing but PGBP of the company slash total income. Yes, so it is 5 lakh 24,000. So calculate tax on above at, company has to pay at 25%. Of course, it's a new company. It's a new company. So turnover during PY 18-19 is not exceeding how much? So all these points are getting revised. Is not exceeding 400 crores. Got the point? So that is why 25%. Otherwise, it would have been 30%. So calculate tax. Is it 1,31,000? There is no surcharge. Surcharge in case of domestic company applies if total income exceeds 1 crore but does not exceed 10 crore at the rate of 7%. And if it exceeds 10 crores, then at the rate of 12%. So directly here you will add health and education cess at 4%. Is it 5,240? Yes. So is the total tax 1,36,240? I'm also interested in knowing amount available for distribution as dividend. Why I'm interested in this? because that dividend is taxable in the hands of shareholders. With effect from AY 21-22, that dividend will become taxable in the hands of shareholders. Shall we go ahead? All of you got amount available for distribution as dividend. Now, what you will do is computation of tax, total income, and tax liability of the shareholders. Do similar particulars and two amount columns. I hope you all have reached till this point. So now, salaries. What is the quantum of salaries? Gross taxable salary. May I know? Is it 3 lakhs? But less, don't forget, there is a standard deduction allowed. Standard deduction under section 16(1)(a) for salaries, and that standard deduction is 50,000 rupees. So your net taxable salary will be 2,50,000. Accepted? And B point, there will be income from other sources. Now that income from other sources will include one, your interest on loan. That is basically 16 lakh rupees into 12% per annum. So can you please tell me? Is it 1,92,000? And can we also compute dividend? Because now dividend will be taxable in the hands of shareholders. There's no DDT. Dividend with effect from AY 21-22, it is taxable in hands of recipient. So that is, in this case, 3,87,760 divided by 3. So how much dividend each one will get? About 1,29,253. So total IOS will be 3,21,253. Here you are getting gross total income slash total income. Is it 5,71,253? Yes, no. But you know, total income is rounded off to nearest of 10 under section 288A. So that's going to be 5,71,250. Can we calculate tax liability? Let's calculate tax liability. 0 to 2.5 lakhs is no tax. 2.5 lakhs to 5 lakhs, you know, tax is at 5%. And finally, in this case, 5 lakhs to 10 lakhs, tax is at 20%. So you know 71,250 into 20%. So can you tell me how much it is? Is it 14,250? Check and tell me. So can you please tell me what is total of this two? 26,750. You will add health and education cess at 4%. So is it 1,070? So is the final answer 27,820? So now can we find out, therefore, total tax liability for all three shareholders together? Is it this into 3? That is 83,460. Is it 83,460? So what is total tax outflow under this option? Total tax outflow under this option is what company has to pay plus what this shareholders have to pay. That is 2,19,700. So which is better in the given scenario? You want lower tax liability. So you find low tax liability in case of firm. So you can write decision and note. Both. You can just check it here. The note part and the advice or decision part, you can check. Tell me technically any doubt, any problem in this question. Did you understand? Were you able to recollect many things? Yes. If anyone wants me to wait, write W in the chat window. Done. Okay. Specifically, if anyone wants to wait, write W in the chat window. And now listen to me carefully, what I'm telling you. For today, I'm closing this. Correct? The balance part of this topic plus next topic we will do tomorrow. Okay, got it? No, Prashant will not evaluate like this, the things based on the marks. It was actually asked in some old syllabus for 20 marks, 15 marks. So my point is, I don't know whether it will be asked like this in the exam, but point is, we understand many things from this question. and we are able to revise many things from this question. So as a student of professional level, you should not uh, evaluate things like this, actually, that about its weightage, you should not judge. Clear? Okay. Now point is, I'll close this for the day. I want to tell you something. I have designed one open for all batch in the alternate days where we are not taking this batch. I'm inviting you to attend that batch. Okay. The selected topics. So 9 sessions I'm going to take with respect to income tax. Okay. I'll soon be sharing the link with you. Wait, if this is not happening. Okay, it's happened. See. I'll just share with you what is in store for you. This. We are talking about income tax critical topics. Okay, relevant for all of you. It's open. I'll share the link with you soon. It is also evening 8 to 10. It will go on till 30th June. Correct? From tomorrow till 30th June. Accepted? Got it? What will be covered in that? I have given you, I'm going to cover 9 topics. Okay. Now, which one of them I recommend you to attend? 1. Residential status. Please do attend. Second, alternative tax regime for individuals. Yes, do attend. TDS, TCS, it is okay. It depends on you. So first, second compulsory for you. Fourth also, alternate minimum tax. Capital gains better if you attend. Entire PGBP quick revision depends on you. Entire HP capital gains quick revision. Entire salaries, income from other sources, deduction of chapter 6A quick revision. And lastly, solving of critical questions. So 9th you can skip and 3rd you can skip. Okay. Otherwise, if you attend others, it will be helpful for you, isn't it? So you know your syllabus. Yes, I'll share this schedule also on the group, link also on the group, and this, what you can say, timings also on the group. I'll soon share it with you all. Clear? So shall we wind up today's session? Yes. Thank you very much. Bye bye. See you tomorrow for this session. And of course, for Cracker Batch, see you next on 12th. Bye. Take care. Let's resolve that by July 10th. Okay, we are much stronger in tax and we come back, in action. Yes. Thank you very much. Bye bye.